There was this young clergyman who grew up in a village where there was only one colonial church with a very tall tower, and all the other churches were traditional churches. So he had never stepped into any of those traditional churches' tents because he was already educated in England, perhaps called Reverend Dr. So-and-so or Father Dr. So-and-so. And so he worshipped in a church that had a tower, the tallest. By the way, tower represents, and many do not know up till today, it represents an erectile, phallic, or penis, if I have to put it bluntly. It's a phallus that is erect and supposed to be representing potency, which means it's so potent that everybody who wants to be where things are potent will come to this church. Now, this young man, having been educated in America, one day decided to come back home with a white, not America, but England, come back home with a white English missionary. And the white missionary wanted to find out more about indigenous churches. And it took him to one of the indigenous churches where they set themselves in some lofty place to watch the people worshiping in dance and all that, and singing and dancing and with their shoes off. No sooner they had sat there for some time, had the missionary decided to join, took off his shoes and joined the dancing in the true African dancing style. I keep on using the word African. I want to please remind me to use motherland. In the motherland style of worship. As soon as the white missionary had done that, very quickly the black missionary, preacher or whatever you call them, clergyman, decided to take off his shoes for the first time in his life to join the dancing and the singing of the way of the motherland, the worshiping style of the way of the motherland, just because the white man had done it. If the white man had done it, it was good enough for him to do it. Most of our people today think if something had been done by white people, either in churches or anywhere else, that is the best. That is why Moses Kakana writes about even the legal minds who refuse to brief an advocate, in most cases because an advocate is black. Even the government, they would rather brief white advocates because it is always the best. And this is reciprocated by the whites who despise the black advocates, and the advocates, black, despise themselves. And if you take a major case like Moses Kakana did of Jacob Zuma, who is not my favorite person at all, But Muzi works hard to show you that he had to defend him against all odds. And that's highly principled from my learning from this book, which is a seminal document that must be in every university that will teach future legal persons. Now, that's why in the past, people, even if they were to name their church Pulayana congregation, they had to say Pulayana Apostolic Mission, because they had to have something that sounds wide in order to register. As a matter of fact, these churches were never registered. They were just bluffed and told they were registered. They were just acknowledged. In order to be acknowledged, even if it's on a piece of paper, you had to say Apostolic Dlamini in Zion in Zone 13, because you have to find on your own a distortion of what you had, even though you inherited it from your grandfather. Now it was Dlamini Apostolic in Zone 13 in the Church of Christ. And we have seen this when I grew up. Some stage, my church also that has a name, longish, I used to privately laugh at it. African Methodist Episcopal Church, which means of the Africans who are Methodist inclined and also under the hierarchy of bishops. What a long name. As a matter of fact, when it was evolved, there was a time when it was called colored. When black people were still called colored in America, it was called Colored Methodist Episcopal, until some of the stronger ones decided, no ways, we are from Africa, because they were already misled that the motherland's name is Africa. I've told you earlier that a lot of them who had come in the regions of West Africa knew themselves only with their original identity and the regional identity. If they had come from Lesotho, they would say, we are from Lesotho. They knew nothing about Africa but Lesotho, something called Africa. And those who compete with it call it Alkebulan. And these smart people who think they can compete about even our identity continue to thrive. I wish I could psyche myself to unlearn calling this word African, because it's a fallacy. When they had slaves in America, they said, you are from Africa. They got it for the first time from the white folks, slave master, that you are from Africa. They didn't know that they are from Africa. Like I've said it previously, they only knew that they were Hausas, Igbos, and all kinds of African identities that was of their ancestors. But the slaveholder told them that you come, this is America, you come from Africa. Even America was named by them, not by the indigenous people. Today, I was in Brazil, and when I talked about America, I referred to the United States of America. And Brazilians protested. They said, no ways, we are also in America. Why do they afford themselves the notch that is American? They are the Americans. When they are just a cluster of nations, of regions on the northern side of that continent, which is called America, incidentally. Hope one day we clean up all those things called America and Africa. We clean up. If you think I'm a terrorist for talking like this, because some of you people are deluded so much, white people won't call me terrorist. If they deal with me, they'll deal with me very stealthily. But it is the dark-skinned people who will say, oh, he's confusing everybody. Who is he? Right. There you are. Let me take my breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Good. At least I could do this now. I could not take my breath. Breathe in, breathe out. In the pulpit, somebody would have said, did you see his witchcraft? Because I had to be noble and just carry on. And, uh, and at least I must be singing the sermon and doing the whoopee thing and and dance and trance and get into a trance and all that. Man, some of those trances are really magic. They're magic oriented and they are magic instilled even now. When I'm in the pulpit, of course, yes, I used to get into a trance because this is how I was trained. But I can assure you a very mild one, not a wild, controlled, because my people would need to hear me out speaking in something that is close to tongues. And woe betide those who pastors are supposed to be speaking in tongues, because it's all to have a foothold on your mind. Now, cheers.